Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends podcast. With me today is another legend, all the way from Galway in Ireland. It is Sarah O'Connell, and she's the owner of Momentum Foot and Ankle Specialist. So, Sarah, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I think when you first invited me, I said no.
I think you may
That
have.
was,
Yeah, very
I
rarely do I
just,
give people a second chance. But
I
normally
know.
if I invite somebody, and no, you didn't say no. You said, I'm not sure if I've got something to say. And I said, yes, you
Yes.
do. So
Well,
you
people
didn't,
who
it
know
wasn't an
me,
outright, yeah, it wasn't an outright, no, bugger off, because
no,
I've
it
had
wasn't
people say
outright
that.
no. It was well, people who know me know that I'll definitely talk, but I just wasn't sure if I'd anything of value for your listeners. So,
You'd be surprised.
um,
It's one of
but
those things. Well, before I ask somebody to come on, usually I've done a little bit of stalking in the background. So when you're asleep at night, I've gone through your social
okay.
media and your web pages, and I look at different things and I go, there's a story in here that I think other podiatrists will want to hear. Because when I first started the podcast, the whole idea of it was to help, like, not just new graduates and recent graduates, or people who've been a bit crusty who have been in the profession for a while. I was just trying to find stories to inspire people so they could go, oh, well, if you could do that, it means I can do that. Or I never thought about taking my career down that path. That's something that interests me. So when I read through all your background stuff, there is a story there which we are going to dig out.
Oh God.
Yeah. And if you need to, we can come up with a safe word.
Okay.
No, it should be fine. So what is that? What got you into podiatry? I'm always interested. What got you started?
So, I suppose like many people, when it comes to you're finishing school and you're trying to figure out what you want to do, I knew I wanted to do healthcare. I'd had issues with my feet, and I knew I wanted to be involved in sports, but I didn't want to do physiotherapy because I wanted to be involved with sports, and I knew then that I would be working over the weekend, and when the weekend is when I
Mm.
play sport myself. So I was like, well, that's not going to work. So then, yeah, I put podiatry down. I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And it was only after I accepted the course that my grandmother, who I'm really close to and who I'm slowly becoming more and more like, was
Yeah.
like, well, you do know that's what I did. I was
So
like,
you're
no.
obviously really close.
Yeah, I was like, no, you were a nurse. And she goes, yeah, during the day. And then she's like, why do you think I was fixing toes up in the up in my office in the evening? I was like, I thought all nurses did that. So um
That's funny.
obviously, and I used to do all of her bandaging. I used to, help her do different blood pressures and things like that. But
You
I
didn't know
suppose I
that's
was
what
so
she was doing.
young. Yeah, I just didn't have a clue. I just thought she was a jack of all trades.
Yeah, that's
So
funny.
subconsciously, I suppose, and I've now as I'm looking back and I'm looking at paths that I've taken and choices I've made, they do reflect a lot of hers. So that I'm hoping that's a good thing. She is 96.
Oh, she's
So
still going.
and
So she'd be
oh
really
God,
proud of you
yeah,
then.
she's flying it. So I told her she could listen to this bit today. So I said I better give her a shout out.
And what is her name?
May O'Connell.
May O'Connell.
So
Well, May
yeah,
O'Connell, nice to have you on the show, sort of in
yeah,
spirit.
exactly. So and then actually once I started, it was funny. It was just like it was meant to be. Like I found an incredible group of friends. Actually, one of my best friends that I was in school with ended up getting it as well, even
Oh,
though
right. Okay.
neither of us were kind of, that we weren't sure what we were doing. And yeah, and then I was able to stay in Galway. So it kind of just all fell together once
So
I
this person you
accepted
went to
the
school with,
credentials.
was that like from grade one all the
It
way
was from
through?
we did a year together. We didn't know what we wanted to do when we finished school, so we did one more year to prep for our final exams and try and figure out what we wanted. And that year was really intense. We got really close, and we're still stuck together. We share an unfortunate tattoo on our MLA, so there's no getting rid of her.
So when you got the tattoo, got asked, was it a sane evening or did you have too much to drink? You said, hey, we should get you a tattoo. It sounded like a good idea at the time.
Yeah, it was Coast Road. 2013,
Yeah.
and it was about 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, that's a
And
perfect time to get a tattoo, I've heard.
perfect time. I thought no one would ever see it. And then I started working with Firefly, and of course I was like, oh yeah, I'll be the demo, no bother.
Ah,
And so I'd say over 1,000 people have seen the bottom of my feet over the years. So that tattoo that no one was ever supposed to see is now on educational videos and things. So yeah,
just ended up being
away
there.
from it.
So going back to your sport, you said you had a few foot problems, which sort of got you interested in podiatry. What sport were you playing, and what type of problems were you having?
So I grew up in the States. So I was playing ice hockey and soccer.
Oh, so you grew up in the US?
Yes, yeah. We moved there when I was 7, and I moved back when I was 15.
Okay.
So I was playing ice hockey and soccer, and when I was playing them together, I was never injured.
Was that in Milwaukee by any chance?
I can kind of look at. Sorry?
Was that in Milwaukee?
It was in Madison, Wisconsin, so just an hour.
Yeah, it's only because I saw something on your profile. I had a photo of one of the hockey teams there or something.
It's the Milwaukee Hurling Club. My parents played with the Milwaukee Hurling Club. Yeah, it was the closest one we could find.
And I saw that and I'm thinking, what's this US connection? It didn't click to me. So that's good. Okay, that shed some light on that.
It's been around. And then I suppose due to I chose then soccer. So when you get to a certain level in the States, you have to pick one sport.
Yeah.
I chose soccer because in case we moved home or anything like that. And just due to overtraining, I had a medial meniscal tear, and I was having constant tib post tendinopathy. So yeah, that's where I first kind of saw the role of a podiatrist within more of a sports area in the States. And then we came home, and I now play Gaelic football, and I just started rugby last year.
Oh, rugby's good. Rugby's
still
fun.
Playing. So yeah, that's kind of where I got the idea that they were connected.
And what was the reason for going to it? So obviously your parents went to America. It wasn't you as a 7-year-old deciding you were going to pack up and go, but you are Irish and they are known to do some crazy things sometimes. So yeah. What did your parents do to want to go to America?
So I suppose my dad had a work transfer, had an opportunity, and there was a really good school system. So they said, let's go. Let's see.
You enjoy it?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. Yeah. You know, in the winter, we had all seasons. So in the winter, we had snowboarding and ice hockey, and in the summer, we were out on our boat on the lake. You know, so real idyllic childhood. So,
it does sound good. I've got a friend over in Wisconsin, so he keeps saying to me I should get over there at some stage. So I'm thinking of doing it in October this year. I'm going over to Arizona anyway for a conference, and I thought I might zip up while I'm there. It's just up the road.
Yeah. So no, and I was actually just there. I was just there last summer. One of my best friends got married, so still very strong connections there. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, and that's the thing. The friends that you do have over, you'll end up with friends all around the world. So once you finished podiatry, where did you start working? What was your plan? So you finished podiatry. Did you want to go down the sports route? Because that was the other part. How you ended up on my radar initially, how it became sort of obvious was when your name popped up as one of the speakers for OSGO's Foot and Ankle Show, the online thing recently. And you were talking about pediatric sports medicine and different injuries. So I thought, okay, what got you into that area of podiatry?
Well, that was the plan from day one. So
it was always the plan.
Podiatry, and I was like, this is what I'm doing. And people were like, you know, it's not really a thing in Ireland, and it's not really done, or you can only do it in 1 or 2 clinics. And it was very much at the time, the focus was on the diabetic foot and how to look after the high risk limb. And you'll see a lot of the research coming from Galway is focused on that side of podiatry. But I just said, no, I'm going to figure it out. And I suppose it was really hard because it wasn't naturally coming to me. So,
Yeah.
you know, I was studying for biomechanics. I was studying for, you know, the gait cycle and different foot structures and anatomy. And I was crap at it. Like I wasn't getting the best results. Like I just couldn't get it through my head.
Yeah.
So
is it something you were really interested in, but it just wasn't clicking?
It wasn't clicking. No, definitely not. And I knew this is what I wanted to do. So I was probably getting a little bit more frustrated. And I was like, no, I need to figure out a pathway. How am I going to do it? And then Martin McGill, founder of Firefly, came to lecture us, guest lecture when I was in third year. And my friends were sitting behind me. So the same girls that are still best friends and still helping me through everything. And they said they were sitting behind me and Martin was lecturing, and they said they thought my head was going to fall off because my nodding, things just started to click. And during that lecture, I said, I am going to work for Firefly. I said, if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to work for them. I need that man to teach me more.
Yeah.
So, of course, afterwards, introduced myself, all of that, and made sure then in fourth year that I was on placement in Firefly. And when I was on placement, I, you know, made sure I got to know everyone's names, showed up early, brought my thesis binded. I just went totally over the top. And as I was leaving placement, they had offered me a job.
So all students listening to this, just pay attention to that when you actually go and do a placement, be the extreme best version of yourself. We'd had some students that they would come along, turn up super early, hang around, never in a hurry to leave, just wanted to constantly learn. And then even when they were leaving, they would give me a bottle of rum or a bottle of whiskey and thank me for the time that I gave up and the amount of hours I've spent with them. Then you had other ones that would rock up late, ring up the next day that they were sick, leave early, and then not turn up on the last day. And just going like...
Yeah, and actually, one of the co-director of the Firefly Clinics, Greg Landers, he was like, yeah, Martin, we have to hire her. She actually talks to me about things that weren't podiatry. Like I just, you know, I wasn't, I suppose, trying to brown nose. I was just trying to...
Oh, no, brown nosing there's nothing wrong with a little bit of brown nosing every now and then.
Yeah, no, I'm good at it. Yeah. But with Greg, it wouldn't be his style. So instead, I just started chatting about kind of matches on at the weekend. And, you know, we were going out that night because we'd finished placement and was there anywhere to go? And, you know, and he just kind of said, yeah, like she seems to have a bit of a balance. So I suppose it was both sides.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely show up early and definitely get to know everyone's name. So it's not just the main clinician.
If we go back a few minutes ago, when you first came on here and you said, I don't know if I'd have anything to say. See, straight away, there's one thing, tick. See, that's a really good tip.
Okay, I've had one thing. There you go, there's one.
I reckon pressure's off now. You've done your duty. You can talk, you can ramble on about anything now. But I just think that's really good advice. And it's not just for students who are doing placements. It's also for people who recently graduate and you go and work somewhere. Don't rock up at 8:30 and leave at 5:30. If you do that, you don't care. That's the way I look at it. Be there early. Yeah. Hang around until you know the boss is leaving. Yeah. Be one of the first people there and one of the last people to leave. And then when you ask for that pay rise, they're going to go, yeah, because you deserve it. But yeah, gee, some of them.
I know. And then that, I suppose, and I really do tell my students that, and I'm always going, you know what, like even we had a conference at the weekend and I sent out an announcement to all of them. And I was like, not only are there brilliant speakers, there's workshops. I was like, this is an opportunity to meet potential employers. So maybe you're in second year, but the podiatry world, especially in Ireland, is quite small. So if you've already made that connection, you're already a step up and you're already showing that you're interested in CPD and you're interested in further learning and networking and things like that. So I think all of that's really important to show. And they're the type of people that do get hired. As I said, I wasn't the top of my class, but I was stuck in everything. I know you said you had to look at what I was doing younger. I was literally everywhere. I don't know how I did it.
Yeah, but I know a number of students.
I think that's got me hired.
I know a number of students that I have been in contact with while they've been going through the course. Just they've listened to the podcast and they've sent me messages and we've chatted backwards and forwards. And there's a few of them that said, when it's time for you to find a job, or when you're looking for employment, just let me know. I said, I know who you should be working for based on what you're telling me. And I don't have a podiatry clinic, so I'm not employing anyone. So it's all totally independent. I've got nothing to gain from it, but they're just, and all of them though, like we were talking off air before about Hector, who's been on the podcast. Now, I'm almost certain when Hector graduates, she will not have a problem finding a job.
Yeah, absolutely not. No, definitely
because,
not.
And it's not that everybody needs to be Hector, but everyone needs to be more like Hector. Just be involved.
That's very good advice. That's nearly better than mine.
Maybe we should get t-shirts and it be more like Hector.
Yeah. Definitely. No,
normally
I
it's
got to meet her at the last conference. So we had lovely dinner. So yeah, fabulous girl.
But it's one of these things that I've seen where there's been a group of recent graduates, they'll go to a conference and you'll see them all getting together themselves, and they're all sitting in their own little group. They're not talking to anyone other than their own little group, and you see them getting drunker and louder. And then I realize there's people who are out longer who are just sitting back watching what's going on. And then you see the other smart ones who are networking and are working the room.
Yeah. So when I was in college, myself and two of my friends set up a podiatry program in Tanzania. So when we were in third year, we did a talk on what we were doing, and it was really in its early stages. So it was only like 1 year after it had set up, but I was going out the following year. So I said to the girls, I was like, I will go to every single exhibition stand and I will get something from each. I was like, watch. And I literally went up to every single stand. I got something, whether it be dressings, money donation, even links or hooch chatta. So yeah, that's, I suppose it's in my nature. Like I enjoy doing it, but even I was watching it this weekend and there was a couple of students doing it, and you can just see how they're making those connections and how it's going to make things just that little bit easier when they're looking for jobs.
I definitely agree. So when you finished your degree, you started working for Firefly, which is a group of podiatry clinics. What was the mentoring process like? Was it a good process that you actually went through?
Yeah, I owe where I am today to my mentor, Martin. I suppose what happened was I started in the clinics, and my biomechanics knowledge, as I said previously, wasn't great. Like I was really trying it just still wasn't clicking. So for the first 3 weeks, I sat in with him on clinic. All MSK patients, mixture of orthotic therapy and exercise prescription and bracing therapy. So right away I was brought in. From there, it was then I was starting out on myself. It was then every Friday. And then slowly, as he was stepping out of clinic, it was maybe then one Friday a month and all of that. And that was for, I would say, 4 years. As well as that, we'd always meet for coffee. So just really, really took me in. So it wasn't just that my learning needs were met. It was also like, what did I want to do next? What was my next goal? And I suppose he really pushed me even like that. I suppose like, I'm trying to become more aware of imposter syndrome, but there's just so many brilliant, bright people in our profession, and I just find that I'm never the smartest person in the room, but that's good. That means I'm in the right rooms. So I find it hard to. I know people go, oh, but you're always out talking, but I do find it hard, and I would be conscious. But the amount of times he'd be like, oh yeah, I'll do this talk, and then last minute be like, oh, I'm not available, so my colleague Sarah's doing it. And he did that for numerous things and really got me in the door by just popping me in, and I think that really accelerated where I am. So that mentoring process is still ongoing. He's still at the end of the phone whenever I need, and
that's good because you got your own business now, yet you still have stayed connected with him to ask questions and still keep getting mentoring from him. That's great.
Yeah, they created this brand ambassadors group. We were actually all skiing in Morzine in March. And that group were just constantly sending in questions, case studies. And, because I left the Firefly MSK groups and there was a couple of us there to work by myself in Oranmore. So I really needed that team feeling, as I've always played team sports. I'm not an individual sport kind of person. But I suppose what's also really important, and where my interest in orthotic therapy came from, was I was sitting in the clinic going, and it was like people were referred for orthotic therapy to Firefly. That's what they would have been, and still are, that's what they would have been known for, and bracing. And I literally was looking at these prescription forms and just circling. I was like, oh, that sounds lovely. I'll have a bit of this. Yeah, absolutely. I want a 2 to 5 Met bar. That top cover sounds interesting. And oh my God, I was making an absolute hames of it. My only savior was if the clinic was here, the lab was around the corner.
Yeah.
So when it would come, and I'd be like, oh dear God, what
have I done? What did I order here?
I was able to run up to the girls in Firefly, the technical support team, Maury and Circa, and be like, girls, what is this? And then they'd be like, okay, you need this and this. And then I was able to run down to the lads in the lab, and they were able to fix it. So I went, okay, this can't go on. Like, this is just crazy. I was picking up stuff, but I was like, this is not sustainable. Like, so then they came up with this brilliant idea that I would do 2 days in the lab and 3 days in clinic. So I literally started opening post in the lab, assessing casts. What's a good cast? What's a bad cast?
That's good.
What are they looking for? Is it sitting in neutral? Why would they ask that? Oh, they wanted to calc vertical. Why are they asking for that? And seeing the staff scan them in, and they were showing me the different anatomical points and all of this. And then I graduated from there. Once they saw I could open post all right, I was brought upstairs, and I was actually then looking at when orders came in. So quality checks. So I'm checking the prescription forms, and I'm checking the orthoses. But I suppose I wasn't just looking for quality. I was going, why did they order that? Or I love the look of this insole. So I just, as Martin says, I was stealing like an artist. I was like, I love this. I'm going to take that. And then I suppose from there, they started to notice that I was giving advice at conferences based on what I'd seen. And that's where I kind of came into that customer support role a little bit. Now, nowhere near Circa's the way customer support and Firefly, and like nowhere near her, but I was just bringing that podiatry swing into it. And then I went, lads, I've learned so much in the last year. All podiatrists need to know this. Like, even if we had a little bit of this information, it would break down that barrier and worry for new graduates ordering custom made insoles. So that's where I started creating then the MSK workshops. So that's how it all kind of.
Oh, so they branched off from there.
Workshops. There's no way. That's where it originally came from. Is like I had this notebook of like, just different things I was picking up as I was going, and I was like, if this makes total sense, but it was explained in a lab way. But if you learn practically like myself, which is what I'm getting better at understanding, I need to see it and move it. And that's how it was starting to click. So then from the MSK workshops, I then was like, you know what, let's just go into the universities. We'll do it for free, and they'll see they'll get a notion of what Firefly is. And then we're also starting to break down that barrier. And then from there, when there was a job then in NUI Galway, lecturing in orthotic manufacturing, I got into that. So that's where I'm now. So that's kind of how my journey, I suppose.
So, and then when you spoke for OSGO at the Foot and Ankle Show, you spoke about, you chose a particular type of like for a particular problem, and then you spoke about that. Yeah.
So it was the Foot and Ankle Show was actually the first show that I was asked to speak as a delegate, not as a speaker for Firefly or something like that. So it was a really big moment for me, and I'm still so humbled that they asked me. But I really, and you'll notice this, I really try and stick to speak about what I'm confident about.
Yeah.
Now, I'm also very confident in saying that we don't fully understand what we do with orthotic therapy, and that's okay. I'm okay with that, but at least I'm it's an area that I feel the most confident about. So you'll notice any of the talks or things that I do are really around orthotic therapy. So for example, this weekend I was also speaking at the 5th Transatlantic Wound Science and All Ireland Conference. And again, I was talking about the objectives of orthotic therapy and material science in an at-risk foot. So I really try and stay in that area, because I just think there's people much better qualified to speak in other areas, and I'm still grabbing stuff from them.
See, what I liked about what you said earlier on, when you said, you've never classed yourself as being the smartest person in the room.
No,
so a friend of mine who I actually think is always the smartest person in the room. I mean, he's just super, super intelligent. He always says,
super brainy.
But he always says, you can learn something from every single person you meet. And if you don't think you can, then you're dumber than what you think.
Oh, yes, definitely. There's a couple of podiatrists that are much, much more clever than I am. And I've taught them all how to split the G, the game with the pint of Guinness. So now, anytime they're like, a few of them, I was like, oh my God, like I didn't come up with the game or anything now. Just, I don't want anyone coming at me for copyright. But literally it was like the same group of girls that I was chatting about. We were just at a conference, and that's what we would do as a bit of crack, just to start off the pint of Guinness and a few podiatrist sauce, and then it's just kind of circled from there. So see, I'm teaching people too. It's just slightly different.
And then, so anyway, once you started working for them, you went back to university and got your master's.
Oh degree? Yeah, I did. So,
you just slipped that in between, yeah. Because remember, you're not the brightest, you're not the sharpest tool in the shed, you said. So you go and do your master's as well.
Yeah, so I'm definitely, well, it's probably right. Like, I'm definitely not the smartest, because I was working in Sligo, Dublin, and Galway. So anyone who knows Ireland knows that Sligo and Galway are on the west coast, and they're about 2 hours away from each other, and Dublin then is on the east coast. So Sligo to Dublin is about 3 hours. Okay. So every week I was Sligo, Dublin, Galway, and then I was studying in the University of Ulster in Belfast. So Galway to Belfast was about 5.5 hours. So I just in my car, really. But I studied at the University of Ulster in sports and exercise medicine, and to be honest, it was incredible. But it also instilled a lot of fear into me, because I then really was critiquing the literature that we had for the treatments that we do, or like orthotic therapy, and I was going, oh God, like we don't really know. And there was just so much, like, there's just so many areas that I was going, oh my God, I thought this was solid gold. Like, I'd learned this in university, but I think it's only when you're out there and you start looking at literature after graduating that you're going, no, they just suggested this way, or they did tell you that that it's still more clinic-based than evidence-based. But I think it gave me a fright, but in a good way. And I was one of 2 podiatrists. The rest were physios or sports doctors. So it let me, I really got to learn their scope, but also it made me really confident in my own scope. So, because I always thought like, physios and doctors know everything, or I don't know, I just had this perception that like my letter to them had to be so detailed and really like prove who I was. And then when I was actually chatting to them, I was like, oh no, like we know our scope really well. But I think what killed me, and I'm so glad I went to the University of Ulster, but there's a few universities closer to me that offer sports and exercise medicine masters that just wouldn't accept podiatrists. So okay. I could have had a 15-minute commute, but they just don't. And I tried my best, but and then I could have had a 2-hour commute. They wouldn't take me either. But you know what? Everything happens for a reason. So I absolutely loved the. And it really, I suppose that's where I started really feeling comfortable with elite sport, and that was always what I wanted to do. So,
well, that's good. So you've had this whole journey through. So, what made you decide that you wanted to open your own practice? Because you were obviously really happy at Firefly Clinics. You were happy doing the orthotics. You're studying to get your master's. what all of a sudden, what switch went off in your head to say, now I want to go and set up my own business?
Well, everyone who knows me knows that I was told at 6 that if I didn't set up my own business, I'd be the first generation of O'Connell not to be self-employed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that was it.
How many generations?
Like I suppose ever, because they were farmers, butchers, owned horses.
No pressure.
No pressure. My dad owned businesses in the UK, so yeah, as I said, no pressure at all. So I knew I always, and that was the thing about myself and Martin, is that I was always, and I think this is a really important point as well, if you're starting somewhere, but your goal, be really honest about where your goals are, because my goals were always to set up my own clinic in Galway.
Yeah.
Always. My mother's from Galway. I find Galway home. All my family is here. So that was always the plan. And so then it just naturally transitioned. So I know COVID hit and all that, but it was actually coming to that natural progression. Anyways, I was going to start coming down to 2-3 days a week with Firefly and start pushing my own clinic. So yeah, and that's when you've really good communication and a really good mentor. And then that's why we didn't want to end. The relationship was so good. I didn't want to leave Firefly, and I guess they didn't want to get rid of me yet. So that's where the whole idea of this brand ambassadors thing came from. So I still have a really strong connection with them, but I just don't work in Firefly anymore.
Okay, so you don't work in their clinic.
Momentum.
Yeah, so you set your business up last year, 2021.
Yeah, January. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get onto that. So just to go back one step with the brand ambassador for Firefly, what does that entail? What does that mean? Because I've heard of brand ambassadors for whiskey and vodka.
Yeah, exactly. It's similar. So basically, it's just promoting their devices, their products, their technical support team. But I was doing that anyway. So for me, it hasn't changed any of my treatment plans. It hasn't changed any of my ordering. And then it's just like organizing different talks or events, or say we're going to a conference and we're doing a workshop. What do we think we should do? And it's also, Martin's really trying to just create this community for people in private practice that, that we have a team and we have people to talk to. And I just think it's important to note that all the brand ambassadors are women, and women in sports podiatry. So he's really putting us up on a pedestal and giving us that support and bit of push to keep driving through the profession. So yeah, it's been amazing.
So, and it doesn't interfere with what you're doing with your own practice, which is even better.
No, not at all. No, because I know the product so well, I would be ordering from Firefly anyways.
Okay, so part of being the brand ambassador is to promote the brand of the Firefly orthotics. So when there's a conference on and they've got a display, you will be there talking with people because you believe in the product as well. Yeah. So I'm telling them things from clinic. So I'm going, I use this. Tell me about the person. I wouldn't use that top cover then, I'd use this. So it's all, and that's the way I kind of talk. I really try and make it practical because that's how my own brain works. So I'd like, chat me through what you need, or this is one that I find really good, or I don't really like that it wears too quickly. So I'll say the pros and cons straight away. Yeah. I think it's a good idea though, like what you did earlier on where you were working in the lab for a couple of days and understanding it from the lab's point of view of what was being made. Because I always had the advantage that when I had my clinic, I always made my own orthotics by hand back in the day. Yeah. So at one point there, I used to work all day and then I'd make my orthotics at night after hours. I'd do about 90 pairs a month, making them myself. So I got really, really good and I got really, really fast at making them. And I really understood what I was after and trying to get. When everything converted over to being digital, I just took what I was doing manually and I could really see it on the screen. But even prior to that's how I got into podiatry, was because I was going to be an art teacher. And a guy I went through school with from grade 1 through to grade 12, he went and did podiatry. I went back and repeated grade 12 because I was a dunce. And
I did too. I didn't know what I was at.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was going to do. So I was going to be an art teacher. And then he came up to the school and I said, what did you end up doing? He said, I did podiatry. He said, in fact, you'd be really good at it. They make these things called orthotics.
That's hilarious. Well,
yeah, and that's what got me into it.
I cannot believe you did 90 pairs a month, because my second years, we did custom made orthoses. We did the whole process, because that's when it clicked for me. So I was like, okay, this is how we're going to make it click for you. And so we literally took our foam boxes, poured them, some turned to mush. It was hilarious. But anyways, we went through the entire process. Sure, it took us a whole semester. So I don't know.
I know when I was at uni too, I know it used to take us forever. And we did some foam boxes, but we did like plaster bandages, which was so much better.
Yeah.
And then you're using dental plaster. It's set super fast.
Yeah, that's what we were doing.
And because if you were doing like, say, 6 at a time, you were doing all the 4-foot posting, and then you were doing all the modification. You had the plaster mixed up, you do all the modification, then you do all the tidy up. Then you had the vacuum presses there, and you had 2 vacuum presses. So you'd have them running at the same time. So it was just it was like a process that I had going. And plus I'd have Billy Idol just blaring as loud as it would go, and I'd be bouncing around the clinic at the same time. And I
might see now. I'll pick the best students and I'll get them to start, and I'll start my little clinic in UIG.
But it's one of those things. But the reason I got onto that was, I think some podiatrists, if they're lacking a skill in an area, or they feel they're inadequate in an area and they're a bit frightened about it. Shoot, just hit my microphone then. See, that will get edited out, but not in the video. The video will stay there. So what was I saying?
I didn't know we could swear on this podcast.
A few people have. Oh, shit's not swearing.
You're right. Yeah.
But I have had a few people drop the F-bomb. So what was I saying? Oh yeah. So I just think when there's podiatrists that feel they're a little bit inadequate in a certain area, instead of hiding it and trying to keep covering it up, is go to people that you might be able to help you. So if there's an orthotic lab that you use, and like you did, maybe contact them. And next time you're taking a few weeks holiday, maybe block out a couple of days and say, can I come and work down in your lab for free, just to learn the process? Or can you show me how you do scanning? Can you show me how you convert the scanning to whatever area? And if you're not in competition to them in any way, and you're already a customer, they are more than willing going to help you.
No, Firefly, even if your clinic is down the road from their clinic, it doesn't matter. Like, I brought a few, the same girls I was chatting about from the beginning. We all did a weekend up in Donegal, but we stopped in Firefly en route, because actually, out of our group, we've all set up clinics. So, I like to surround myself by energetic women, and so
nothing wrong with that.
No, definitely not. Definitely very inspiring.
And I'm not saying I like to surround myself with energetic women. That's not what I meant by it. But it's just surround yourself with people that
who inspire you
and lift you up. See, what I love about the podcast the most is, say, talking to someone like yourself, because I don't have any dickheads on here. Like, it's a dickhead-free zone. So if I thought someone was a dickhead, the conversation would have ended after the first 60 seconds. So
I've made it this far, so
we're 37 minutes into this, so you're doing fine. But what I meant by it is, I get inspired by every single guest that I have on here, and I get to talk to people anywhere from the UK through the States, India, Dubai, and all around Australia. And I'm just going, I'm absolutely loving this.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I find that every time I leave say when I've left the conference, or say when I've left skiing, or so I've had a few buzzy things in the profession. So March skiing, April the Foot and Ankle Show, and the Transatlantic Wound Conference. So you're actually getting me while I'm exhausted. You're getting me at a time where I'm actually buzzing about our profession. And
that's good. I don't want the flat version.
Sorry?
I don't want the flat version.
No, definitely not. No,
Yeah.
but like it's just it's connecting with people and chatting with them and getting inspired and going, oh, I'm motivated now. They did that. I'd love to do that. Or seeing people get on well, and that maybe you went to college with, and you're going, wow, look at them go. And I just I'm definitely think it's really exciting at the moment. I think there's loads going on, and but yeah, we all ended up setting up our own businesses, so we all went to celebrate in Donegal. So it was a sweet one.
So
6
what have
years
you
after
learned?
graduating.
Yeah. What have you learned? So you started your practice last year, 2021.
Yes.
What's the biggest thing you've taken away? What have you learned from having your own practice? And what's probably been maybe one of the hardest things to actually understand having your own practice?
I'll start with the hardest. Just
Yeah. Start there.
the hardest for me is I still have yet to find a work-life balance. So, for example, 3 months after setting up my practice, I was offered a role in the university, a full-time role. So I had a full-time practice and a full-time role, lecturing. So right away, there's not enough hours in the day. So I really pushed myself to do both at full capacity. And in November, I just absolutely crashed, like absolutely just like I was working 6 days a week, doing my admin on the Sunday, and like trying to get in like at 9 o'clock to do a deep clean. Obviously I was cleaning as I was going, but
Yeah.
and I was missing everything. Now it was okay because it was COVID. And then as COVID restrictions started to lift, I was saying no to everything. And I'd get on the pitch and I just wasn't, like, my performance levels were so dropped. And I just took on too much. And I know that's, everyone says, oh, that's normal for the first year in business and things, but I just don't think it should be like it was for me. But I just think instead of really enjoying that first year, I got to the first year milestone and I was like, where was that year, or what happened? I can't remember. So I think, and I'm still working on it. My boyfriend said if I put anything else on my plate, I'm in trouble. But I think that's the hardest for me because it's your own business and you want it to be as good as you can, and you want to provide the best care, and you want to see any patient that wants to come to you, you're honored that they've chosen you, and you want to look after them. But if you're not looking after yourself, you're going to miss notes. You're going to not provide the best treatment. You're not going to be as energetic and enthusiastic as you should be. So that's the hardest thing for me. Definitely. The thing I've enjoyed the most. No, only joking.
Oh, not so much what you enjoyed the most is what so your biggest learning was getting that work-life balance.
Yeah. And I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet.
And I actually think when you're first starting out, I actually think the whole work-life balance goes out the window. When you first open up your business, you've got to give it 100%. And if you've got a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever, sometimes you just got to understand you have to give the business the time and effort to get it up and rolling. But it does get to a point
where but once you start getting
burn
sick,
out.
so I was getting I got cellulitis from a bee sting. Like, I mean, I was really sick and run down. Like, I'd totally overdone it. So yeah, I'm very lucky, very supportive, family, friends, partner, all of that. But it got to a stage where they were like, Sarah, you look really unwell. Like, you're not looking after yourself. So I do, of course, I put everything into it, but I do think we need to talk about looking after yourself as well. But the thing I've learned the most is you cannot underestimate a good work colleague or a good support structure. So questions or things weren't going well, I had people to ring. My best friend came on with me when I was struggling to fit time to see patients. She came in with me and took a day off me. She's like, I'll do this day for you and all of that. And so for me, it's people, it's support you have around you. And that's, for me, that was the most important.
Is that Marie?
Yeah, Marie Hegarty.
Yeah, no, I saw her on your website. I just checked it then. From Ballina, Mayo.
Yeah, Balnash, very proud Mayo woman now, so she'd be delighted that you noted that.
No, I did, because I was looking through your website, and then when I saw her name on your website, and then when I went to your Facebook page and was looking through things there, I saw her pop up on there. So I sort of clicked pretty early that you guys were good friends, because you could just tell, you could tell from your photos, and you could tell from your website, and just the way things are written, that you actually connect really well. And when Nicole Friels was on this podcast, and she said the people that you work with have almost got to be like family.
Yeah, totally.
And if you've got people that work with you that you really don't want to have anything to do with after hours, it's probably not the best work environment.
No, like, especially because when it is your own business, you don't realize it's 9 o'clock in the evening, like, you know, because you're just on different times. But I know I can ring her, and I know if she doesn't want to talk to me, she'll just ignore the call. And normally she'll answer. She's like, right, what's going on? What's happening? Yeah. And sometimes I'm just updating her on, well, you know, I was blah, 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 blah. And I really don't think I would have gotten through the first year without her. So she was sent to me. I think everything happens.
And a good friend and a good a team member is someone you can ring at different hours. Not that you're intrusive in their life, but they have the ability. They can go, no, I'm not going to answer it.
Yeah.
But if they choose to answer it, they can also have the right to say to you, Sarah, go to bed.
Yeah.
Sarah, put your phone down, turn the TV on, and veg out. Have a glass of whiskey. Stop calling me. See you tomorrow. And you're not going to be offended by that, because you know it comes from the right place.
Oh, absolutely. She's doing a master's at the moment in health promotion. So she has and she owns a Pilates business. So she's 100 things going on as well. So we try and meet for a coffee where we're not allowed to talk about work.
Yep.
Now, that's really hard. And it always ends up coming in, and we're like, no. Okay, so how was so we're working on that. So I think that's something kind of fun as well, that we're going, look, we're friends first, and we need to look after that relationship as well.
Oh, definitely. I've never been able to switch off. Even if I went on holiday somewhere, if I was in Bali or in Fiji, it doesn't matter where I am. I could be lying on a deck chair on a beach, and the waiter will come and serve me a drink, and I'll look at the tray, or I'll look at the cup, and all of a sudden I'll go, oh, that just reminds me of something. And all of a sudden I'm thinking of business ideas or something I could do in the clinic, or a particular way. I could look at something they gave me. Next thing I'm thinking of an orthotic design. It used to just be weird.
That makes me feel so much better, because I seem to think that, like, literally none of my housemates are podiatrists. So they're like, Sarah, no more foot talk. You're cut off. You're done. Because, you know, so that's why I think it's so important that you have your podiatry group. Like, I have the podiatry girls, and I have Marie, and well, she's part of that group. But it's also important to have friends not in the profession.
Oh, hell yeah.
Chat about, you know, other aspects of life, or, you know, things like that. So I have to say, I'm so blessed with the people in my life. I don't know, it's only recently someone said to me, when you look at my social media, like my personal social media, it's all pictures of people, because for me, and I didn't even realize, but for me, that's what drives me, and that's what keeps me relatively sane. But when I'm not sane, they're also around as well.
So before we wrap up,
I think take home.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, have you got one final tip? Well, one thing, if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way of connecting with you?
Oh, yeah. So you can email me at momentumfootandankle@gmail.com. Is that correct?
I think it is. I'll double check. If it's not right at the ending, I'll say, now let me just fix up that email address. I'm pretty sure it is.
Momentum_foot-and-ankle on Instagram is where I'm most active as well. So either of those.
Okay. So everyone go and follow you there. Stalk you at night.
Oh, thank you. I suppose my final tip would be find something you're passionate about and specialize in it, and find a mentor. For me, that's really carved my path, and it's brought me where I am today. So they would be my 2 tips.
No, I think that's fantastic. So Sarah, I want to thank you for coming all the way over the internet from Ireland to share part of your story. I think it's been really, really interesting. And I told you that you would have something really important to say. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I'm honestly, I'm absolutely chuffed. I'm delighted. So thank you so much.
No, that's great. And I'm sure we will stay in touch.
Yes, definitely.